allhiphop.com. First and foremost,
Hi.
happy belated. Uh,
I know. I
we're
know. I know.
we're so
What day is
happy
it?
to have you.
It's a week. It was a week that I turned 64, dude. That is so big. 64 is like no joke. Like you are not young. There isn't a part of me that is, I can't even pretend like when you hit 40 or late 40s, you're sort of still pretending in your brain
Mhm.
that you have it going on. But by the time you hit 64, I'm like now so relaxed and so embedded and inhabiting my next. I just uh found Elaine Brown, who was an activist in the Black Panthers, and she's gorgeous and she's like in her 80s. I mean, she is spectacular.
As are
And
you.
I love, huh?
As are you, Queen.
Thank you. But as you get on and as you go through life, it's really important to have people to model and to people who it's almost like they give you permission to be. I saw this thing where she's talking about her life and her what sparked her into activism. And she's wearing leather pants and this like Yoji Yamamoto shirt. I mean, she was just so hip. There was so much hipness. And I realized one thing that happens when you do reach a certain age, you forget that you don't have to succumb to frumpiness or depression or whatever it is that one would do. You still got it going on, even if it's just for you. You gotta definitely find your style and keep your style ever evolving so it's appropriate. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Appropriate in the sense that it inhabits who you are at that moment. Because we do change. Every decade's different. And the older and wiser you get, the more, I don't know, I think you get really interesting. But here we go. I mean, there's different currencies. When you're young, you have the currency of beauty and youth.
Mhm.
And then when you get middle age, you don't have that currency. And it's a hard transition. I think 30 to 60 is really challenging, 30 years old to 60, because you're not young anymore, but you're also not exactly old. So it's kind of a weird, it's almost like it's like a I don't know
Maybe,
how to describe it.
maybe a
It's
tweener.
just a weird zone. But now from 50 on, and you'll notice this, you can begin, if you're smart, you begin to sort of figure out, oh, this is cool. I don't have to please anyone. I can decompress from colonialism and patriarchy. I can actually heal my soul from years and years and years of rejection and not fitting in. Like right now, I'm in Mexico to heal. I'm in Mexico to take a break from feeling the white gaze and to fully embody my uniqueness and to listen to my heart and soul and to recover. I feel like for me personally, my whole life has been about understanding rejection. And that's a big ask. And I think my soul, when I was designing this life with my guides and angels, I said, oh yeah, I want to be born to a mother who can't handle me, who's going to put me into an orphanage, into a family that adopts me, that doesn't really want me, but wants to use me to keep somebody in line. And I want to be highly intelligent, but yet not academically or formally educated. So that I have to struggle with that. So I have to become an autodidact. Oh, and then I want to pick a career in which basically the whole entire industry is geared to not ever wanting me or my type. So I want in on that club because it's a dynamic that I knew. Rejection is a dynamic I was born into. And so now at 64, I'm like, okay, I get the note. I get the soul note. And my entire being is saying, I've had enough of that. I'm good. I now know that it's an inside job, love, and that I have to love myself and truly love myself and not in that narcissistic, crazy ass way. But I'm talking about where I get it, where I don't need to do anything. I don't need to impress anyone. I'm not looking for the approval and I don't give a flying and it's working.
Amazing. The wisdom. I
I
just
don't
turned
know if it's
50.
wise. It's just it's either get on the boat and have a good time and realize that, most of us are walking wounded, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Like I said something on Facebook where I mentioned about all the see-through clothing. Now, if everybody was naked and wearing see-through clothing, including the men, it would be ecstatic and fun, and I would get it. It's a good trend. Everyone's showing their bits. But it's only the girls, and it really bothers me because it feels very uncreative and it feels thirsty. And I'm going to say something like, and I think she's probably a sweet woman, but like when I look at someone like J Lo or Madonna, even, it's like they're still pushing the sex thing. And there's something sort of sad about that. Like I get intrinsically sad. And sometimes I think, God, I wish I had all their money. But then I go, well, but I'm so happy. And I don't have all the pressure to keep booming and pushing that. I don't know. It's like I want to say, like, are they successful at the end of the day? Like, are we doing this because we like it, or are we doing this because we want to be loved? I think it's a combination.
I was going to say maybe a little bit of both or a bit of both.
Yeah, yeah. And why don't we start with love? Why don't we just be in love? And then would you do this? Like that's what I had to ask myself. Like, would I do this gig and be in this game if I had if I had all my voids filled, if I had all those, existential angst, if I had it all healed, would I still be doing this? I wouldn't.
And another question is would your creativity or your creative output be the same if you weren't in that state?
It would be very different. And now it's different because I only work with people I love. I only do things that I absolutely adore. And if it's going to be fun and if it's going to be something crazy different,
Okay. And that makes you know what? And that is a great segue because for you, in terms of that, and I mentioned this earlier, I'm excited to chat with you because I've kind of had the pleasure of growing up on a lot of your projects. I just turned 50, so I'm right in that pocket. Many of them made a very long-lasting impact on my life, specifically Soul Man and Beat Street, just to name a few. So this conversation that we're having right here, please definitely consider this my way of giving you all the flowers that you rightly
thank you.
deserve for everything that you've done. And I got to say, every character I've seen you play, you've brought so much depth to that performance. And just based upon, the information you just gave to me, I can understand why in terms of that.
Well, and I have to tell you, every time I ever did anything, I always tried to make it special.
I
I
could,
always tried to make them multi-layered. I always tried to take it out of the playing my race, obviously, but playing a person, a soul, a multi-dimensional being, because it's tough. I came up in the era of Farrah Fawcett. They didn't want anyone that looked like me, and I would have been, I don't know. And then, yeah. But I want to talk about Obama for just a second. I think that he was he motivated so much inspiration and so much care and so much love. And in a country that's based on in a country system like the United States that's based on white supremacy, he absolutely threw a wrench in the works. And all the superpowers that are behind all the Christian nationalists and all the dark billionaires who are super super racist and run a lot of it, of the country, and they just lost their cookies. So I I love that Obama had 8 years to show us and to heal the community, because he did heal the community. We needed to know, we needed to remember that we were kings, that we are queens, and that we are kings, and that we have run things, and that we are probably the African was probably the builder of Egypt. The Egyptians came after the Africans, for instance. Like the ancient history that has been suppressed about the African, that we don't get taught, that people don't know, all we get is this tiny little window of just butchered history. And the reality is the Black man is probably, well, for sure, is the original human being. So it's like when Obama came around, all the people that hold on to white supremacy lost their cookies. And so this is why when you see Trump doing all the nasty things that he's about and doing, it's not about him. It's about keeping white supremacy. And that's that. And the disappointment in the Obama thing is that Obama should have, I think he and Eric Holder should have made a bigger noise about the Russian stuff with Trump and immediately opened up a investigation so that by the time Biden came through, that it, but you know what? It wouldn't have happened because Merrick Garland's heritage and then Biden's just not into it. He doesn't have the stomach to take down white supremacy. So the reality is we were going to get this no matter what. But Obama did inspire and he did wake up the cracker
Absolutely,
in.
he did. And since we're kind of in the race era, I'm going to segue into a question for you based upon your past.
Okay.
In the
Yeah.
movie Soul Man, you were a law
Yeah.
student and a love interest. How do you feel Soul Man would be received in today's climate?
Well, it wouldn't get made because people are so nervous about race, right? Soul Man would never have been made. It wouldn't have been approved. There would have been too many people afraid of offending Spike Lee. You know, I mean, whenever you do blackface, anything, it's too many wounds, you know. So, and I understand why, but you know, the thing that I know about Soul Man is it's a beautiful little movie. The thing that I also know though is that you have to be somewhat numb to the history of the black man to be able to really enjoy it. But if you're not numb to the history of the black history of lynching and whiteface and slavery and torture, then that you can't tolerate Soul Man, no matter how sweet the story is. You see what I'm saying? So
Mm.
that's I understand the rage against it, against Soul Man because of the blackface and the black history. Um, so it wouldn't get made, you see, because it's just too straight up insensitive to the history of this country. And this country is based on torture and lynching and barbecuing black people
No, you're definitely not wrong on there. And I do
and decimating every time the community was able to band together and make any kind of, you know, town community where there was prosperity, the KKK or the Daughters of the Confederacy, some group would come and just decimate and murder and get away with it. And
unfortunately.
it's one decade after another decade for how many years? 400 years? It's a horrible place if you think about it. It's a horrible legacy. The white man is a horrible legacy against African Americans. So Soul Man, unfortunately, the sweetness of the story and the comedy is so sweet. But with our history, please, it's too soon. In 1,000 years, we can do Soul Man again, Soul Man 2, but not now. I mean, I don't think in a millennia, I think a millennia, 1,000 years, we might have, we might be able to kind of step back and go, wow. Because really what's up now is the sickness of the white race, is the sickness of the white story, is like Toni Morrison said, it's a sickness.
Mm. Very interesting. Very interesting. No, fair, very fair points, and I'm with you there. Let's
And what I want to know is like, what's wrong with Kanye? But then I do know what's wrong with Kanye, everything. I
that
mean,
we,
and
we
what
could be
was
here
the
all night with that one.
other girl? What's her name? Candace Owen. These people, they need attention so badly that they'll commit murder. I
Yeah,
mean, Candace Owen is like so heinous. It's just, she's like the black Ann Coulter. Ugh.
fair. This is fair. This is fair.
And
Kanye,
I think literally she woke up and said, I want to be like the black Ann Coulter. I want to be so horrible, so
very
despicable. I'm to
terrible.
talk. You know, somebody could say to me, well, Rae Dawn, you've always married white guys. It's true. As a biracial person with a white father, they say you date your father, right? So I've never married a black man, but I have dated black men. So it's not like I haven't, but I haven't gone public with it, I guess.
Okay.
So all my marriages have been with men who weren't of color. So, but I mean, it's all about the dad. If my dad was black, I think I'd have more black boyfriends. That's what I think.
Okay, all right. Since we were talking a little bit about Kanye and of course hip hop, and this is all hip hop, let me ask you about, of course, one of my other very, very favorite movies that you were a part of, Beat Street.
Yes.
Classic film, a film
I
set
know.
birthplace of hip hop.
I'm so lucky to be in that movie. It's
Yeah.
historic.
Yeah, man, definitely. Basically film set in the birthplace of hip hop, the South Bronx. And I gotta say,
Mm.
Double K, Lee, Tracy, and Ramo were some of the first introductions I had to the elements of
Yeah.
hip hop culture. So I wanted to see
Yeah.
if you could talk about the experience. Did you think it would be as iconic as it was? And
No,
how was
no.
the energy on set during those incredible breakdance sequences? Because that's one of my
Oh, it
favorite
was extraordinary. I mean, that's when I knew I was in something special. Watching the Rocksteady crew. I mean, it's being around Africa Bambaataa and all these amazing beings. And I didn't even think about the South Bronx. I'm like a hippie chick from LA. So for me, it was like, what? It was so bombed out. I mean, it doesn't look like that now, but it was bombed out and gnarly and dangerous. And I just thought, okay, I'm doing this and this is good. But my first movie I have to say was in the South Side of Chicago. So I had seen a ghetto. And when I was a little girl, my dad, when we became American or got our green card, we had to live in Detroit or and then we had to go back to Windsor and come back to Detroit. And in Detroit, my dad was carrying on with somebody else, not my mom. So he had two houses, and he put us with his friend Juanita, who was like a heroin dealer. And so my little sister and I lived with Juanita and her family in a really rough neighborhood. It was my first time living in a rough neighborhood. It was all black, and she was a dealer. She was a drug dealer. And my mom and my dad let us live in this world. And she wasn't strong into dealing, but I remember, and they all went to jail except for maybe the daughter Bonza didn't go to jail. But my dad put us in this environment, and I remember thinking, "Oh, this isn't fun. This is scary." Yeah, yeah.
That's
I've
it.
had a colorful childhood.
I see. I see. Well,
I'm writing a book, but I don't even know how to start or write it without hurting everyone's feelings. Because when you write the real story, someone's going to have their feelings hurt, right? His
yeah.
dad's like Mr. Yoda of weed, but it's like, dude, you terrorized everybody.
I was going to ask you about that. I know when we were talking, you said you were doing some writing, so I was going to ask you kind of what you were doing and what you had kind of going on.
I'm writing about it and I'm trying to figure out a way to do it where it's the most authentic, the most clean, clear, helpful, funny, still literary, and not too whingy, whiny, and oh, poor me, and yet not too, I'm so amazing. It's like figuring out a way to frame it and write a book so that I got to write it for me, is what I'm writing it as if I read it.
Okay.
If I could read this book, and I'm a very tough customer. Like
No.
when I read something, they has to be really good sentences. I need it to be interesting and not too like I read what's her name? Mia Farrow's book. Have you read it?
I have not.
Dude,
What is the
get
name?
it's just Mia Farrow. I believe it's just Mia Farrow. It's about her life. And then of course her life is with Woody.
Okay.
And she just tells the story. And I have to tell you, I'm a big fan, and the book it's a triumph. And it just talks about all of it. The movies, because they're some of the best movies I've ever seen, and her performances and being with him, and then the whole Song Yi thing. And it's so shocking, and you will never, ever, ever be able to watch another Woody Allen movie. And it's sad because I love his work,
Wow.
even
That
though
is,
I don't think he'd ever put me in a movie. But she's my goal. She's my model. And so when I write, I think, okay, I'm sure she had a lot of editors come, and I'm sure Ronan helped her keep it clean, keep it pure. I know you're gonna say that sounds really weird, but when you're talking about tricky stuff, you need to make sure you don't have too much of your own schmear on it. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Just the facts.
That's a good editor will definitely help you do that, or some people around you will definitely help to kind of keep you tight with that. So you're
I'm
right.
trying.
I
So
see.
that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing in Mexico. I'm trying to finally get to it before I die.
Okay. So do you have a time period where you think you want to try to bring that out, or whenever it comes out is
So
whenever?
I've been writing for my whole life, so I have a lot of material. So I've just been now kind of like writing what I call just I'm going to give myself a little bit more time of just more, and then I'm going to try to put it all together.
Okay. Well, speaking
It's
of creative output in terms of that or whatever, I ran across something as I was kind of doing a little bit of research on you there. A little footage from one of your first directorial debuts there.
oh my only
First
director.
three,
Well,
and the only one that I'm aware
yeah.
of was
Well, no, I ended up directing something afterwards and winning best director for something. That first movie is so bad. And I feel so bad about it because it was technically we had a camera problem and my producer sucked and I was lazy and going through a breakup, so I wasn't as focused as I needed to be. It was all my fault.
okay.
So why it was so bad, but I had some massive mistakes. It was a $250,000 tutorial on what not to do. I learned how to direct.
I saw it in terms of it was it I and I'm actually still kind of combing through it, but I was like, wow, this is kind of interesting just to kind of watch it unfold. But
Some of it's amazing and some of it's really funny. And
here's
then some of it's a mess.
no,
But
I like the rawness of it because it was just
yeah,
like a documentary, but it was also a film, but it was just like it was
yeah.
kind of all kind of mashed together,
It's
and
a
I
mess, yeah.
and I noticed some things like you introduced us to a much younger Chris Pratt, who's of course gone on to do Parks and Recreation and the highly successful Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. I was like, wow, I didn't know that. Other people were aware of it. I wasn't. This apparently was his first film as well. Tell me about young Chris and how you recognized his talents.
So I had written, so okay, here's the story of Curse Part Three. This wealthy woman in real life needed a script. She had written these pages, and I was going through a breakup, and this guy called me and said, "Hey, Rae Dawn Chong, would you consider writing a script for this woman? She'll pay you. She has some pages. Would you read the pages? Come to dinner with this woman." So I met this wealthy woman, and I'm a little bit psychic. So I went to dinner with this woman and I started getting all these hits about her, and they were not great hits. Like it just occurred, I just felt like she had something to do with her previous husband's death. She took his money. It was so heavy. And I realized, ooh, and she's got a botched boob job. I got these hits about her. I know it's crazy, right?
That is
And so
crazy.
she gave me these pages, and these pages were so bad. They were like, it wasn't even a script. It was basically a bad copy of the Blair Witch. So that's what the premise of Curse Part Three was, to make fun of this woman who was making a movie that is it's just so bad and it's not even doable because rich people have this hubris that if you have money you can do whatever you want and it'll be great. And so I wanted to do a spoof, kind of like Waiting for Guffman, about a rich person making a movie that's not even a movie. And then people start dying. So I wanted to sort of somehow make a spoof like Waiting for Guffman about movie making with the hot chick, the hot guy, and a rich nightmare woman, and an unfilmable 3 pages. So it was a good idea on paper. But and I was going through a breakup and we were in a remote location and we needed to get into a car and go down where we had electricity to watch the dailies, and I didn't. I stayed on set and did prep and worked with the actors while my producers went down and looked at dailies. That's what they said. And they would come back every day and say, it looks amazing. Now, as a director, you never trust anyone. You should always look at your own dailies. You should always be in touch with everything. I didn't know that because I hadn't really trained. I was just an actor who wanted to direct. I'm so used to people saying, don't worry, I'll take care of it. So I had a producer telling me it all looked amazing. He never looked at one frame. And the A camera was broken. The A camera was a Canon XL6, which had an override. So you know how when you write a text, all of a sudden autocorrect, when you press send, autocorrect will butcher it.
Right.
It's so awful, right?
Yes.
But it's like this weird governor that we have in when you write a text, you got to really make sure it's good before you press send. So in this case, it was a Canon XL6. You would set up the scene, it would be on manual, but the second you pressed go, it would click to auto and it would focus on the nearest thing in the frame. So everything else is fuzzy. So that's what happened to A camera. Luckily, we had B camera, which was a beautiful little Sony. So it got all the coverage. So there was some clear and some not clear. That's why it was such a shazaster. And I had to go away and do a series. So I had an editing team and a sound design team to try to salvage this fucked up film. So you're asking me about Chris. So the guy, so it's a rich woman who's not attractive, who has money, and her thing is that, and in this three pages that the real woman gave me, um, all the men in the production have a crush on her, which I always think that's really sort of tacky. Like, why would you write that everybody is hot for you unless you're Angelina Jolie? And even Angelina Jolie would never write that. You know what I'm saying? So I really wanted to make fun of that. So I hired my girlfriend who isn't as pretty as Donna Mills. And then I had Donna Mills play the prettier version of her. And I needed a stud. I needed a narcissistic hot guy. And nobody in town would let me near all their young actors. So I was breaking up with this person, and a friend of mine who's a producer said, "Come to Maui, Rae Dawn, and recover." And I couldn't get an actor. Nobody would let me have their young studs. And I thought, well, fuck you, Hollywood. So I went to Maui, and the rest is history. And I was in a restaurant, and this man, this young cutie pie who looked like Matt Dillon, but blonde, walked up to me, a young Matt Dillon, and he said, "Put me in a movie." And it was almost like it was a God shot. I mean, obviously, I am blessed. Okay. I mean, it would you couldn't have delivered a more talented, perfect being. And he was living in a van at the time, totally broke and needed a break. And I was breaking up with somebody, had this crazy idea to go away, use all the money I made on my first year of the series to make this movie, just so I could have the experience of it. Because when you're always working and working and working, you never have time to go to school or to make a movie. So this was my film school, right?
Absolutely.
So this boy came up and said, "Put me in a movie." And I was like, "Can you act?" And he's like, "Yes." I was in this play in school, and and I thought about it, and I thought, I need a young, hot guy, and he's hot, and he's young. So I gave him a script, and he showed up. I did a table read with local people in Maui. He came up and knew everybody's lines. He was so prepared. I was like, "Oh, you are coming," because if someone's that hyper and that sorted, you got to work with them. And then there was something about Chris just as a person, like if you played poker with him, he always won. He would there's some there, as you know, and now the world knows, he's absolutely magical as a person. Like, not he has a good head on his shoulders. He's completely kind and lovely and generous, and he's magic. He's literally magic. So I always knew he was really talented. And so then what I did was we filmed, and then I made sure that he had a good job, and that he was all my best friends took care of him. Michelle McLaren, Doug McLaren, Lauren McLaren, my friend Chris Burton, Kyle. I mean, everybody that I love and who loves me took care of Chris, because I was away. I was in Vancouver for 2 years making a show. So um I couldn't like I couldn't personally help him, but I he didn't need my help, and I knew he didn't.
Wow. That's amazing because he's gone on, of course, to do some huge things. And he was
Yeah.
covered
And
like I say,
he
you two
always says
covered each other.
and he always says really nice things, which I like. And I think that's very kind. I told him he didn't have to keep doing that, but because the truth is he's really gifted, and it was an easy pick. Like, that was a God shot.
Indeed, indeed. Two people came together to do something special. All right, let's
I would do it. Listen, I would do it. I get a lot of calls and a lot of requests. So I'm very, very generous that way. I would do it. I'm looking forward. I don't mind helping people. Like, you have to have a thing. It's hard to describe what it is, but there's definitely a crack and a sizzle. there's something in someone's gift. You can meet people and you know they're going to go far. And I can't, it's inarticulable what it is. There, there's somebody has to have magic. You don't even have to be beautiful. You know what I mean? You just have to be magic.
We're just gonna leave that right there. We're just gonna leave that right there because that was beautifully said, and I'm just gonna leave that right there. That was amazing, and I agree. Let's pivot a little bit because I want to talk about something that I know that you're very passionate about, and we already kind of started on that. So let's go ahead and go down this roll and crack this one open. All right. Of course, as someone Canadian American, what are your thoughts on the tariffs and this administration as a whole, and what we can do to regain our democratic footing?
He has to be yanked out of office. He needs to be arrested. Musk needs to be taken down too. It needs to be a really very, very rough. He needs to be arrested for treason. Obviously, Putin has infiltrated. Musk obviously got money from Putin, allegedly, for Twitter. Who's got $1 trillion hidden offshore? Okay. Who needed $44 billion to buy a platform? Okay. And there was that big meeting when Trump was first in office between Eric Prince, MBS in the Seashell with Jared Kushner. There's been so much planning that has been going on, and it's so dark. And so he needs to be yanked out. We need SEAL Team 6 to fucking get a brain and get rid of this guy. And the tariffs, I mean, he's not smart. And there's no part of this that is normal. It's just a takeover so that these crypto bros and their whole Andrew Tate and all of that mashuga, all that crazy, sick, anti-female bullshit can be. I mean, in a year, America will be not even in 3 months more, America will be unrecognizable. And if you look at what Putin does to countries, look at Syria. That's an example of what he practiced on Syria. And Putin is, I mean, Trump is exactly like Assad. He's stupid, he's vain, and he needs a daddy. And Putin's been waiting in the grass like a snake to destroy America ever since, we used Osama bin Laden to ruin the Russians. So, you know, it's been a thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any, but it's white supremacy and it's the fall of the empire. And so there's no fixing America at this point because there's nobody there that's going to do it. Nobody's going to walk into that office and do the right thing. I mean, all the Democrats, including, and a lot of the Republicans and some of the Democrats are bought. Like remember when Putin bought those influencers for $400,000, that Russian, that's what's happened, and it happened like 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. Joe Manchin, allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. But this is my theory. These are bought people. You know, there's no, the minute Citizens United was made into law, we were done anyway. And to be honest, I'm not that sad about it because this system isn't my friend. It's not your friend.
Stop.
This system has never done the right thing. It's never done reparations. It has never done the right thing. Like Germans have made Nazism illegal. You know why? Because they fucking are smart. But not America. America is dumb as the maggots that put this stupid guy in office. Dumb. It's embarrassing how entitled and stupid America is.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing. Fat and stupid.
Yeah. I've never seen so many people vote against their own interest. I just
And,
thought that
and
was
they
weird.
did it because they're racist and they thought it wouldn't impact them and they don't give a hell about anybody else suffering. They don't care because they're cruel and they're genocidal and they're horrible.
Yeah.
That thing on Gaza, that alone should put him in Guantanamo. The
Yes.
fact that the things this man has got his paws in are evil. He's evil. What should happen in this country? He should be yanked out of that building. Same with Musk. They should decimate this administration. Get the fuck out.
Yeah, I definitely did not elect Elon Musk. I didn't elect Donald Trump either, but
He's so evil.
yeah,
He's like an alien. He has no heart. He has no conscience. He is a little South African Afrikaner. The worst.
yeah, not a fan
Oh,
either.
I'm sorry. I wish I was like holding back, but you
No, no,
know.
no, no. I asked you the question knowing exactly where you are. I'm on your page. I know exactly how you feel, and I wanted you to be able to express how you felt about
I'm
that.
over it. I'm over it. I don't think, and I got to tell you, it's no joke that I'm in Mexico. There's no joke that I moved. I told my partner, I said, I love you, goodbye. I told my family I'm out because this guy is going to do bad, bad, bad things if they don't take him out now. And they had their chance three times. Mitch McConnell, three times. They could have put him, they could have saved, they could have kept the system. But guess what? The system is not supposed to stand.
No,
It's supposed to fall. And as painful as it's going to be, because it's going to be painful, it's exactly what needs to happen.
why do you
They're
feel?
going to tear America. We're going to see it look like Beirut. I'm telling you. Tanks, violence, it's coming. And everyone's like, oh, Rae Dawn, you're so dramatic. No, I'm not. I'm a prepper. I know. So have a plan, stock up, and arm yourself. And I don't mean arm yourself so you can go out and fight. I'm saying just to protect your stuff because it's going to get weird. And Putin's in the system. What do you think he's going to do? He's going to mess with banks. He's going to mess with the grid. He's going to mess with everything. It's so done. It's so bad.
Yeah, I do think that we're in for some. I think you used the right
Bad.
weird times. Definitely ahead with it, but we're going to try our best to stay as positive as we
I
can,
don't know.
as we can.
I don't know what people are going to do. I think people are going to be shocked. It's like this. It's like Kyle Rittenhouse was driven to another state to murder people.
Yeah,
And that ugly little white thing, that worm was exonerated.
yeah,
He was not found guilty
yeah.
because that to me is what white supremacy is.
Yeah, no
They
one talks about
cannot, they
January 6th.
cannot.
They pardoned
And
it. Well,
now they're gonna go Dennis Chauvin, the guy who killed George Floyd, they're gonna pardon him.
I saw that possibility coming up. In fact,
Oh,
the guy you brought up earlier, Ben Shapiro, is kind of spearheading that particular effort, or he brought it up, I guess, on his show. I think allegedly, hopefully, I think I'm saying the right person, but there's definitely some chatter around that, which also is just it's sickening because I'm just like, okay, that's what we're doing. I was upset about them even pardoning the January 6th insurrectionists. I was just like, when that happened, I was just like, okay, you guys are definitely showing me exactly how you feel about everything. So, not surprised, not shocked, but very disappointed. Very
oh
disappointed.
no, no, this is a really bad, 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 bad trend.
Yeah, got
And
you.
the thing is, people who are evil, like Trump and his ilk, they're not courageous. So we have a chance, and there's more of us than them. They're not really brave. And most of them are out of shape, so they can't run anyway. But
I like
it's going to be a short civil war.
Well, hopefully we'll figure it out. But I did want to hear your opinion on that, and that's good. Here's a gear switch since we are on all hip hop as well. Hip hop in general. Obviously, you were part of a very classic film, and you're
I love Kendrick Lamar.
to talk to me.
And
I was
I
just
love
I want to know who
Kendrick
you like and love.
Lamar. I love him because he knows who he is. He loves his city. He's taking care of the city of his Compton. I love that he is so black and so artistic and so poetic. And I have to say, because he's a fellow Canadian, I have a big heart for Drake. And I know that Drake, because this is what happened with success, it happens to all of us. Pride cometh before the fall. And you think that you're not going to suffer and that it's always going to be like that height. But Drake's got some good jams, and he just messed with the wrong guy. And I feel for like I did I do see Kendrick's point of view, and I think absolutely he definitely bitch slapped Drake for sure and has won the battle. But Drake, on the other hand, has an opportunity to take this and go really deep with it and actually make some amazing music and actually and do what Kendrick did. Their music, not better than Kendrick, but like use this as a way to jump as a jumping off point. Like, oh, I got slapped around, because J. Cole, first of all, J. Cole's one of my favorites, if not in some. What are you smiling at?
Because I love J. Cole as well. I'm loving everything you're
I
saying. Sorry, go ahead.
I just think J. Cole has like an extraordinary heart, and I love his poetry. And I was a little shocked because I met Ice Cube. Was it Ice Cube? At a thing that my dad did. Yeah, it was. And then he voted for Trump, I heard. One of the NWA, I think it was Ice Cube, voted for Trump. Is a Trumper because he's, got money and all that. And then I was like, yeah, there's a lot of rappers who really have been pro Trump. And that kind of makes me sad. But when you think about what the black man has gone through, and I have thought about it, so it's not like and I go, I understand why they want, they want fuck you money, billionaires, Dr. Dre, all his billions, everything. I get it. I get it. And I even get why Kanye needs so much attention. Like he's so addicted to attention, he's willing to become a Nazi. Because, he's not going to get the Kanye attention because, he had the girl, the Kardashian. That gave him attention for a while. His music's not selling anymore because he's aging out. So be a Nazi, right? Because it's really about fame, right? It's about being, but back to the art. So I loved that halftime. I was so happy about it. I've watched it a couple times because it's just so beautiful. And I'm a tennis player. I'm on a couple teams. So it was nice to see Serena up there doing the crip walk, which I kind of want to learn. I want to learn that crip walk. It's really complicated. So that's what I think about everything. That's my hip hop, you know. Who else do I like? I do think, like for instance, Tupac obviously is good. And I think Eminem's excellent. I think of the white rappers, he's obviously the king. And I like Dre. I like Dr. Dre. We used to bump into each other on the trail. There's a trail in LA that has since burned. That I would see him. He'd be coming down, or I'd be going up, or I'd be coming down and he'd be going up. And we'd always say hi. I like him.
That's awesome. I definitely was very interested in your take in hip hop again because you've seen it kind of, from the 80s and of course before that all the way up to the present. So I wanted to kind of get your take on that and you gave me
Well, and as far as political and as far as the socioeconomic, well, here's the thing. As far as the anthropological hit on hip hop, obviously the way women are treated and the bitches and hoes, that's a drag. So that hurts me. That hurts my female soul. And then my friend Dee Barnes was like abused by Dr. Dre and all those things, and that hurts me too. So I think let's talk about sexuality. Let's talk about Diddy. Let's Diddy do it. The thing is, we have such a weird culture. We're so fucked up that we can't even, get help because our
Mhm.
culture, it's so much shame. But it's like even my friend Russell Simmons, who's just like he's rapey. So it's like if you're rapey, that means you probably were severely raped and now you're raping people. You need help.
Yeah.
And because as a culture we're so damaged, it's like a bad word to say therapy and massive therapy. And so then you put fame and money and presenting, and you don't get the help, and all you do is you diddy. And now he's never going to get out of jail, and they're going to burn him and lynch him, and he probably deserves it because it sounds like it's terrible. And I went to a party, and I like what Chappelle says. He said, I was never invited to a freak off, so I just now know I'm ugly. And I was at a Diddy party, and I didn't get invited to the after party. Ugly.
Well, obviously, it was a good thing that you didn't because it seems like it was a lot going on.
Oh, I know. Well, because now we know, like, well, it's interesting because with these little cameras everywhere, you can't really go to an Airbnb without wondering, not that anybody wants to see this naked, but at this point, but people put cameras places. And so, when these guys are breaking the law and sleeping with children, that they are going and they want to stay doing that, then they are going to film it and, get drug people, film them raping people, and then use it against them so they can't talk about it. That's pretty horrible.
Very much.
Allegedly. This is
Allegedly, all of these things allegedly
allegedly.
driven, all of
Allegedly.
that. Um,
I'm
yeah,
going to this so
I knew that this was going to be spicy. Though that's fine. No, but no, I'm on there with you. All right,
fine.
I got one for you. I got a gear switch in terms of that on one other movie, and this was one that my son. This is you've impacted generations at this point. He loves the Tales from the Dark Side, the
Oh
movie,
yeah. That's
and
a good one.
his question was in the gargoyle suit or whatever was were you in did they have you dressed up and all of that or was you or were they just using
My head, I had the exploding afro. Tell him it isn't, I think it's a man who's in the final one, the actual, that's not me.
okay.
But my I did have a puffy forehead that blew up. Like that you see me begin the process of transformation. So it was automated hands, tell him automated claws were coming, and then my face expanded the forehead and tell him my horns come through the afro. So it was a partial transformation, but I really love that movie too.
Good, good. Yeah, you've impacted generations. And so he was just like, You're talking to her? Okay, I want you to ask her that question. So he was just like, Is she in it or did they just use her voice? So you were,
They use my voice, and then I say to him, "But you promised me you'd never tell."
and then that's when it all kind of
And
goes.
you want to know something crazy about that movie? While I was making that movie, one of the security guards of the studio we were filming at, which was like a low budget rental place, one of the guards there got my phone number and would call my apartment in New York City and masturbate on because it was the era of tapes, like a recording.
I got you.
He would do the whole thing. And my gay best friend, John, would take the tape because he thought it was so hot. It was so gross. I was so offended and so grossed out. And luckily John was with me while I was filming this. He was hanging out with me and he was super, super gay. And he's like, oh my God, this is so hot. And he would take it, but isn't that so sick? And I'd have to get it. He would bring me a new tape to put in my machine because it was a guard who was there all day while we were filming, watching that movie. But think about that movie. I was like mostly naked, it seems. And we were like always doing it. So this guy was like, yeah, and he would call my number and do a number on it. And my big friend took all the tapes. And I couldn't change my number because there was a strike happening at the telephone company. Isn't that funny? Isn't that a
That
weird?
Yeah, that's very weird. He sent you basically his spank bang. Well, he made you part of his spank bang, but then sent the the tape out. That's
No, no, no. He would call my number and say, Rae Dawn, I watch you all day. And then he would get going. And then it was supposed to traumatize me because it's like audio rape, right? But because the first time I heard it was like, oh my God. And then my friend was with me and he was like, oh wait. And then he's like, Rae Dawn, I want to take this. So I let him have it. And then I would just put new tapes in and every day. The
wow.
whole time I was making that movie, I had to switch the tape out and give it to my friend so he has a collection of the security guard doing his thing. Isn't that crazy? And then my friend got killed.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. Well,
His husband killed him. Isn't
okay.
that crazy?
That is crazy. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. All right, that was crazy. While we're in movie land for a second,
Okay.
James Earl Jones,
Oh my God, he's so good.
amazing.
He was so nice to me. I've been in two movies with him.
What was the other one?
It's this movie called City Limits. It was this low budget and motorcycle film, and he played like the cranky, grumpy. I don't know. I forget the name of his character, but he was always in a onesie long john. And it was so funny because it's James Earl Jones. It's like Darth Vader. And so it was like so cute. He's so generous. He was so kind and nice to us. And I loved him. I would always sit with him and talk to him and ask him questions. It was, and he had a good long life. And he would tell me things about when he was on Broadway doing Othello and the interracial stuff with his wife. I would ask him all the Barbara Walter questions. And he never held back. And he was just Rae Dawn, and he would, you know, tell me how good I was. And I've had some really good mentors. I mean, Sidney Poitier was like that too. He would always grab me and tell me I was really gifted. I'm so lucky.
Yeah, you've had a
I'm
fantastic.
really blessed. Because,
Yeah,
Adolf Caesar, when we were doing The Color Purple, he would always talk to me and tell me how talented I was.
squeak.
Yeah, and that was so miserable because I got my scene got cut and I was just basically an extra and I was so grumpy. Ugh.
But I mean, what you were in terms of that or whatever, I never forgot because I remember as a kid watching, I was just like, oh, hey, that's Rae Dawn Chong. I know her. So
Yeah, I would not. I was sort of disappointed because they put a musical number in it. I love the book. I don't know if you read the book, but
I have read the
I
book.
thought I thought the Broadway musical was amazing, and I was glad they did that.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of her and Mr. in the book, kind of reconciling more so in terms of that. I wasn't the biggest fan. I get it, but I wasn't the biggest fan of that.
But you know what? I thought the second movie was sort of problematic, but I do like all the creativity of it. But I thought it really teaches you that you cannot translate a Broadway show into a film format, that it's too different. So you do what Hamilton did, which is just shoot the show. You don't try to do a narrative because
Understand?
it was creepy, all those like happy songs, like the way they were doing those songs. It was almost like there's nothing to be happy about.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. Yeah, sometimes it always doesn't kind of, like you said,
Do,
format.
do you find within our community that I mean they're starting to do it now more, I'm noticing, but that talking about gooey, hard stuff within the Black community is kind of still hard, right?
It is.
I just noticed folks don't want to talk about stuff. And I'm like, what else is there to talk about? But I notice people like that I will get shut down. People will be like, nope, nope, she's too weird. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think they're all about protecting their peace. Some topics trigger some people in some ways, and so they don't want to go down that path, even
The
though
community
these are
doesn't want to talk
necessary.
about.
Yeah, these are necessary discussions, but sometimes people don't want to jump in.
Yeah. Or, even being able to hold the fact that you can still know someone's a rapist and still love them, but they're rapey,
Yeah, that's a
you
difficult,
know.
one, especially if what that person's proclivity is in terms of that. Yeah, that's
Well,
hard.
but they're, yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I always believe if you're guilty of something, just say you're guilty of it, because I think that's the first step to healing. Own it.
I agree.
The thing about this, see, let me tell you what I think is the problem with the Democrats and the people in office right now. People are afraid to know that they're as vile and evil. They can be as vile and evil as Trump, and they are as corrupt as Trump. And unless you've seen your own inner abyss and how bad and low you can get, then you're always afraid. Like that's why the Republicans are so manageable for him, because he knows how evil and vile he is. He is shameless. But a lot of them, they take the money, they take the graft, but they don't want to see the part of them that's like him. So they're afraid. So they're always in a sense that's why he gets you. But if you're not afraid to know, if you know you're a murderer somewhere, you can access that. Smart, healthy people don't. But if you want to take away a bully's power, just know you're a bully too. And just know, what are you going to say to me that I don't already know about myself? So fuck you, right?
Right.
And that's the problem with the Democrats. They're like bringing pies and bringing their soft spokenness and following rules. And it's like, dude, you're upholding a system that you've already sold out because you couldn't face it. You couldn't admit that the reason why Trump didn't get arrested is because it's white supremacy. Nobody wanted to face, and you see it in Kamala's face at the funeral of Carter. You see Jimmy Carter, you see her face. She looks like a woman who's had hot water poured on her face, like been scalded. And I think it's because they knew that they were purging all those votes out of Pennsylvania. 3.5 million votes were taken off the roll. They were thrown away. That's all it took
Yeah.
for Pennsylvania, Michigan, and they knew this, but they don't want to say it's that broken and that easy to do. They're protecting the system, and in protecting the system, we now lose all of it. Isn't that fascinating?
It is fascinating. A friend of mine was just like the Republicans are super serving their people, whereas the Democrats are still trying to kind of soft shoe it and okay, well, we want to be the kinder, gentler one. And he's just like, nah, just like you said, stop playing by rules, stop doing all of that. It's time to
It's
fight on.
not serving us, it's serving the system.
Yep,
So you see, it's not for us that
yep.
they did this. It's not Merrick Garland didn't not Merrick Garland didn't push it faster and didn't do what he needed to do. He wanted to uphold institutions. They wanted to do the right thing by the book so it wouldn't look X, Y, and Z. That's protecting a system. That's not protecting a populace. That's not doing your job.
Now, getting back to you in terms of that, I know that you've done a lot of things, humanitarian efforts and things like that as
I've
well,
tried.
or try. Tell me about some of the things that you've done and some of the things that you might be putting in place, especially, with the chaos that's currently ensuing.
Well, at the moment, I'm on the lam. No, I am in Mexico. I'm in Baja setting up a life. And I'm always willing to walk the bleeding edge of truth if I can. I believe in trying to be as authentic and real and say it like it is because there's nobody that I'm trying to impress and there's nobody that I'm afraid of. What are you going to do? I'm already, I'm already on my third act. I'm already at that point. And I've had such a good go. It's been such a fun earth time. So now everything I do is about service. Every part of my being is about trying to uplift, pay it forward, and bring everyone along that wants to come with me. So what do I do? Everything. Like I help. I'm always yesing. Yes, yes, yes. Where can I help? Now, I'm not in LA or in America in the front lines of the protest, but I will definitely be giving as much money as I can to the groups that are going to be on the ground. I'm not really into being shot at or tortured or killed that way, but I am noisy, as you know, and I'm relentless. I keep at it. Obviously, I don't care. Like, I'm always going after what I consider to be injustices, and one of the things I do is I try to point out what I consider to be hypocrisy, especially in Hollywood. And
I,
it's really kind of gross. There's, the Scientology church and the fact that Tom Cruise is number two in the church. To me, it's weird that no one really brings it up. No one brings up the fact that he's the number two leader of a church that's known for horrible things.
Mm.
Think about it. You just like shut down because you're like, oh my God. But and so that's why he jumps off buildings and jumps off mountains with motorcycles because it's a distraction.
Mm.
Here, I'm going to be so spectacular and make so much money
Gonna
in
forget.
these movies, whether it's Top Gun 50 or Mission Impossible 72. So you don't ever find out how I live,
Mm. Interesting.
what happens in my life, who lubricates my day to day, who serves me in my day to day, who are these Sea Orgs that have signed away their lives for a billion years for nothing. Those are slaves.
Yeah.
No one in Hollywood is saying a word. He's making them millions. It's like, yeah, isn't that sick?
It's
That's
very
sick.
it's very interesting. I was actually just about to ask you if you were going to be doing anything in terms of projects or movies on a Hollywood or major scale, or did
I
you want
doubt it.
to
Hollywood is
continue to stay
disgusting
independent?
right now.
Yeah, I
I mean,
think.
I'm not happy with it. I'm not happy with it. And I think I'm not happy with it at all. It's a mean boy. It's a mean boy entitled frat boy world. I aged out. I'm not the right race. I'm not black enough and I'm not white enough. I'm the in-betweener. So there's that. And the people I do work for and I do make movies for, I'm like, come to Mexico. Mexico has an amazing studio system, amazing artists. Shoot me in Mexico. Let's do the film here. The peso is still at this moment, very weak compared to the dollar. So it's good. So I'm like encouraging people to come to Mexico. But Hollywood as Hollywood's basically dead. I mean, other than really boring movies, whether it's DC Comics. I mean, do we have to? It's the same three ideas, and now the really good movies are not being made in Hollywood. Really,
Yeah.
I mean, Nora, such a good movie, and that's because Sean just takes a small crew and he goes and does his movies, and they're good. There's a narrative. They're fabulous. They're character. We're finding out about character arcs. Chloe Zhao, I mean, who did The Rider and did Nomadland. The best movies are being made on the peripheral, on
Yeah.
the edge. My friend Skinner Meyer, we did the Sleeping Negro, and we have another one coming out, which we're working on, called Anger Never Sleeps. It's a character study. I mean, I'm a renegade and I'm a rebel. I'm out there. I just turned down an audition for something that was from Tyler Perry because it wasn't smart enough for me. The character is just like so cliche. I knew exactly what she was going to say. And it
Mhm.
was like I told my people no. And unless it's an offer, I won't even consider it. I'm not going to audition for this. This is retarded.
Yeah, Tyler does a lot of work down here in Atlanta, so understandable.
He is Atlanta. He's the big cheese of it. And his particular lane is very good.
Mhm.
He's definitely got a lane.
Yeah,
And I admire his success, but I'm not attracted to it. It's not smart enough for me. And I'm going to say it. I just don't think anything he's really done. I mean, Ava DuVernay, I really think is amazing and she does really good movies.
that's great movies.
I'd love to work for her. She actually did the publicity for a film I was in. So I knew her as a publicist, but I've seen her since. I would work for Ava for sure.
Ava's amazing.
Um,
She puts out fantastic films.
And I love my favorite of the youngins is Black Panther's director.
Coogler. Coogler.
Oh God, Ryan, what a genius.
He's
He's
fantastic.
just a genius. I just think he's so damn good. I hope one day I get to do something for him. I think Denis Villeneuve is excellent. I think Ryan Coogler is a genius. There's a certain crew of genius filmmakers I would love to work for.
What do you think about Jordan Peele and the whole horror, kind of his smart horror that he's kind of put together?
He's adorable. I would work for him too. I like him.
He's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorites.
Yeah. And he's got a good sense of humor. So yeah, I would do that. He's talented. Yeah.
Earlier, you
Yeah.
were asking me about something, one, and I'm going to answer your question now while we're in the midst of this because I brought him up for a reason. Someone that I'd model myself a little bit after, at least from a creative standpoint. It's actually Jordan Peele, because he comes from that world of comedy. Uh,
Ah,
but what I admire about him was his ability to pivot and to show you not only that he could function in another genre, but he could help create it. And boy, does he
yeah.
create amazing films, amazing concepts. To
Yeah.
me, Jordan Peele made the horror genre more fun. He added
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
nuance. He added some intelligence to it. It's like I look at his movies looking for the symbolism, looking for all of the different tricks, looking for all of the wonderful character angles, and of course, the great concepts. So, to answer your question from earlier, if I pattern myself from an artistic standpoint behind anyone, it would be Jordan Peele.
I love that. That's so good. And also that young boy, he's not that young, but who did Atlanta.
Oh, you're talking about one of my super favorites, and that would be my brother, he's also
Uh
a singer, songwriter, of course, as well with that one. And why he
Gambino, Childish Gambino,
James
but
Gambino,
Daniel Glover.
Donald Glover.
Donald Glover. Yeah, Donald Glover. It's a little confusing because he's Danny Yes, Donald Glover. I met him once and just like gushed.
That's
He's
another
really
one that's one of my
gifted.
favorites as well. Another
And
person,
then I really want, who I really want to work with?
who's that?
And he probably won't ever use me, but I really like him, is Boots. Boots, who did Sorry for Calling You, the one, what's his name? Boots, he's the director. He's a music guy, but he directed Sorry for Calling You with Lakeith David,
Lakeith Stanfield. Oh, Lakeith Stanfield. Oh, I remember that movie
yeah.
where he turns
It
into.
was called Boots. What's his name? Boots.
I forgot the
The
name of the director. I know who you're talking about, but I forgot his
Oh,
name. But I've seen the
come on,
movie.
let's get it. Sorry.
The movie is amazing. It was so different and so way left out field, but oh
I
God,
loved
it's
it.
so good.
It was genius.
It was
In
great.
fact, I kind of stalked that director. I was in New Orleans working and somebody said, "Oh yeah, Boots, what's his name?" Let me see. Sorry for bothering you.
Great movie. I haven't seen it in a while, but oh man, it's one of those ones where
Sorry to bother you. It was directed by mm, God, it's gonna drive. Oh, Boots Riley.
Boots Riley. Yeah, you had the Boots right. I can remember the name in terms of that. Boots Riley.
Yeah, and I love that. It just worked.
It was a great movie. It was a very, I love movies that kind of go way, way, way left field, but can build a world around it to make you just go. If I even finish a movie and I go, wow, that was different. You've done your job.
Yeah.
You've absolutely done your job in terms of that. But this has been like super fantastic. I'd love to sit here and just rap with you all night, but I know you've got other things going
Yeah, I should
on.
probably. Well, we've been on the phone for an hour. I mean,
Yeah, I was
we've
gonna
been
say
doing this.
I think you told me a lot of good stuff. We've gotten spicy. We've talked about hip hop. We've talked about your
Do you think
project.
I'm gonna get, am I gonna get in trouble? I'm
Not
just kidding.
not not at all. It'll be fine in terms of that. We're gonna put out.
Allegedly, allegedly,
We're gonna
allegedly,
say allegedly for everything across the board. No, that's fine. Everybody's
allegedly.
entitled to their opinion, and we needed your opinion in terms of that. You are an icon in this game. You are someone
And you
that
know what? I love Jasmine Crockett. I just hope no one hurts her. And
yeah.
I love Al Green for standing up.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
And I love them singing We Shall Overcome. But again, it's so everyone's just so dignified. Maybe Michelle Obama shouldn't have said when they go low, we go high. I don't know.
So we need to go subway. We need to go subterranean. Go deeper and deeper.
No, we just need to yank them out by the scruff of their neck and say, go home, leave us alone, get the hell out, go to jail. There's a guy on Instagram who just puts it exact. He goes, the only reason why Donald Trump wanted to be president was to stay out of jail. The guy has no plan. He's not intelligent. He's destroyed the world and he's destroyed the country. And it's just because he wanted to stay out of jail. I mean, literally take him out. And then it was Stephen Colbert who asked Chat GPT, the AI, is Donald Trump a Russian asset? And use all the information from 1980. And it came back and said, there's an 85% chance he is. 85.
That's
This
correct.
is computer.
Yeah, AI is even telling you what to do in terms of that. So we'll go ahead and put a nice point on this, and I'll ask this last thing, and this is what we will go out with, and we will let you go back to your fabulous, peaceful life over there. And my last question for you would be, how do you want Rae Dawn Chong to be remembered?
Yeah. That she was really fun and good. And she brought a lot of spice to everything she did. Um, here's what, and I'm generous. And yeah, and you never know what I'm gonna do because I'm crazy. But this is the thing, and this is what I've noticed. My life is so fascinating. I mean, I just drove by myself down the Baja in an RV pulling my car. I don't know many people who have done that, let alone a woman. I do have a pit bull, so I did have a dog. And I realized, God, I wish I could find, I wish my roles were as interesting as my life.
Mm.
So how will people, hopefully they'll just say she brought the party. She brought the party. She was fun. She was interesting. Sometimes she was like maybe lazy, but mostly she was really on it and she brought a depth to things and she asked the hard questions. And yeah, and she was never dull. Rae Dawn, not never dull. How's that?
That's fantastic. And it sums you up, I think, perfectly.
Well, thank you. I've really enjoyed your show, and I hope I gave you something to work with.
You gave us all kinds of things to work with. And more importantly, you have given up yourself through your art. And for that,
Thank
I
you.
will ever
Honey,
grateful.
thank you so much.